So in terms of putting even whiskies up against one another, you probably couldn't get a cleaner comparison than these two, right? Hey guys, welcome back to another Versus on McIntyre's Malt. For those of you that haven't yet seen this series on my channel, this is one where I take whiskies that are typically from the same distillery, pin them up against each other to ultimately see which one comes out on top as my preferred choice. And today we're going to do the first verses of two whiskies that are very similar in terms of the way they are presented and their flavor profile, but they come from different distilleries. And these two whiskies that we are putting up against each other today are the GlenAllachie 12-year-old and the Bunnahabhain 12-year-old. So I thought this one would be a lot of fun because these two are very much competitors on the shelf for your hard-earned money. Two 12-year-old whiskeys, both of them are non-chill filtered, both are natural colored. The GlenAllachie 12 is 46% ABV and the Bunnahabhain 12 is 46.3% ABV. So very, very close in terms of stats and the specs on this one. I have done reviews for both of these whiskeys on my channel before. I will put a link in this video for you to go and check those out as well. Both of these whiskeys retail in the range of $110 to $120. So in terms of putting even whiskies up against one another, you probably couldn't get a cleaner comparison than these two, right? This one will remove all the variables and the winner is going to be decided by the nosing and by the taste. So this one, I'm going to have some fun with this, all right? So let's start with the GlenAllachie 12 on your right. On the nose. There's mocha here. Caramels and toffees. I get a saltiness, like a salted caramel on the GlenAllachie 12, which I like. There's a little bit of the banana today. I get a little bit. It's almost like a little bit of a creaminess to it. Good nose. There's a lot of different stuff in here, right? It's appealing on the nose, this one. Let's try the Bunnahabhain 12 on the nose now. These are surprisingly similar on the nose. You can tell there's a difference between the two, but they are most certainly two different distilleries' take on a very similar whiskey presentation. There's a little bit more nuttiness on the Bunnahabhain 12. There's more of a Christmas cake richer sweetness on the nose of the GlenAllachie 12, whereas the Bunnahabhain 12, there's a little bit more of the malt actually coming through. There's spice here. There's sherried notes, but I think they're less forward on the Bunnahabhain 12. I think the GlenAllachie 12 on the nose is more sherry forward, whereas the Bunnahabhain 12 has a bit more of a balancing act between the other elements that are coming across in the whiskey. It's less cask driven. Probably I think what I'm getting is a bit more of the spirit character of the Bunnahabhain 12 on the nose. Very similar. The color to me is pretty close actually. All right, let's go for another nosing on the GlenAllachie 12. More of a sweet creaminess here. The toffee, almost creme caramel, and the banana notes, like a banoffee pie, is coming through. Now the sweetness is starting to really unfold. Yeah. The saltiness has subsided a little. This one's got much more sweetness on it. The Bunnahabhain 12 on the nose again. Nuttiness, a little bit more spicy. There's more malt. It's less sweet. It's definitely a nice, well-rounded, like maltiness, golden syrup notes, nuts, spice. Very similar. Think GlenAllachie 12 being more sweet driven and the Bunnahabhain 12 being more nutty and spicy driven. All right, so I got to get these whiskeys on my palate and see what I think of the two. So let's start with the GlenAllachie 12-year-old. Cheers. Starts off sweet. The saltiness develops on the palate. Slight sharp bite on the front of my tongue, at the tip of my tongue, and then back to sweet again, and finishes lovely. Beautiful transition of flavors. Sweet, salty, sweet, almost waves on my palate, mellows out, and left with a little bit of a ABV ethanol prickle, just slight but pleasant, and just a nice sweet and salty finish. Sweet at the front of my palate, salty at the back, and very enjoyable. A nice little bit of that cocoa bitterness, lovely. Sweet and salty and bitter. Great contrast on the GlenAllachie 12. Bunnahabhain 12 on the palate. Man, I'm spoiled. Both of these are great whiskeys, right? The Bunnahabhain 12 has a nicer mouthfeel, far more coating. Yeah, man. There's like the treacle notes are unfolding on my palate now. Just think like when you're a kid, like, you know, when you'd add malt into like a milkshake or a drink, the maltiness is beautiful. There's this golden rich treacle note. The oak is there. The mouthfeel is fantastic. The raisins are starting to unfold on my palate as well. The GlenAllachie 12 goes through waves of flavors. The Bunnahabhain 12 transitions to different flavors. Both have a great little bit of saltiness and this lovely contrast and bite. They're not so sweet. It's quite possibly one of the nicest balances that I've seen or experienced between the distillate and the cask influence. It's really nice sweet spot here where the treacle's just lingering now. It's just this sort of, man, this one's hard, guys. These two are great whiskeys, you know, like it's one of those things where you just, sometimes you don't want to have to pick between the two, but that's what we're here to do today. We've got to decide who is the winner here, right? And I think the only way that I'm going to figure this out is to drink more of these two whiskeys. And, you know, I know someone's got to do this. It's a hard job, but this is for science, guys. We've got to get there, okay? So I'm going to go and have another sip of the GlenAllachie 12 to see what the finish is like. And then we're going to go to the Bunnahabhain 12 again. GlenAllachie 12 on the finish. The waves, sweet, peaks into a saltiness, awakens on the palate, crashes down, and then comes back to the sweetness. There's a nice influence from the oak here. It's just the right balance of sweet and savory, sweet and salty. Good contrast. Really good contrast on the GlenAllachie 12. I like it. Let's try the Bunnahabhain 12 on the finish. Oh man, this the Bunnahabhain 12 comes on so much softer. The mouthfeel, it's almost like it lulls you into this false sense of security, and you think it's not going to give you as much or offer as much as the GlenAllachie 12, and then it starts to just come to life, and then it's all there, and just flavors just start unfolding, and you've got this nice balance. It's less sweet than the GlenAllachie 12. The Bunnahabhain 12 is far more nutty and spicy. They both give you a fantastic range of complexity. They both unfold and transition on your palate. They're both multi-dimensional. Both have a very similar finish in terms of length. It's a good medium finish on both. They both excite the palate. Man, I don't even want to decide between the two of these whiskeys, but I know that I have to. We're here for that. Any day of the week, my opinion of these would change. If I did this tasting, this versus another day of the week, I might choose the other whiskey. It's that close, and they're both fantastic, integrity presented whiskeys. And no matter what you can get in your market and which one you buy, you're not going to lose. Like I have one here. I'm the winner of this challenge because I've got two great whiskeys in front of me, and they're both delicious. And what a fantastic offering from both distilleries. I've got to give it to the Bunnahabhain 12, and that's purely because I feel it's today, at least today, the GlenAllachie 12 is just a little too much on the sweet tooth side for me, whereas the Bunnahabhain gives me that nutty and spiciness that just hit the mark today, right? The winner of today's verses is the Bunnahabhain 12, but again, they're both, neck and neck. Like there's very little between the two. So if you can get either of these or both of these, I highly recommend go and grab them. They're great whiskeys, right? You don't have to go to like 18 and 21-year-old age expressions to have fantastic whiskey. These two are beautifully presented, and both distilleries should be incredibly proud, and I'm sure that they are, of these two whiskeys that they're putting out for us enthusiasts. So thank you so much for checking this one out. Let me know, guys, do you have a preference between these two 12-year-old age-stated sherry cask whiskeys? And if you do, if you think you would have chose the GlenAllachie 12, let me know down in the comments. Please like the video. I am looking forward to making more of these versus videos for you guys. It's a lot of fun. And subscribe to the channel. And until next time, enjoy your whiskey responsibly. And I'm going to finish off with this Bunnahabhain 12. Slán Java.